The so-called genesis of divinity is an incredibly mysterious realm. Once a cultivator enters this realm, their speed in comprehending the Tao will reach an astonishing level. But that's not all. What truly draws the attention and drives all cultivators mad with excitement is that, upon entering the genesis of divinity, there is a certain chance they can create their own immortal arts based on their own insights. According to rumors, the immortal arts passed down from the immortal realm were created by mighty immortals who, upon reaching this realm, crafted these techniques themselves. As Wang Lin flew through the sky, his eyes glimmered with bright light. After taking full control of Luo Yun's memories, he had formed a clear understanding of the land of demon spirits. However, acquiring the ancient demon spirit is extremely difficult. According to Luo Yun's memories, despite the land opening every 5,000 years over the countless millennia, only a handful of cultivators have actually obtained the ancient demon spirit. It is said that over these countless years, fewer than 10 cultivators have truly acquired it. There is only one way to obtain it, through military merit. In every province of the land of demon spirits, there is only one ancient demon spirit. It is not controlled by anyone, but instead serves as the spiritual symbol of each province. This entity evolves every 100,000 years. If it is merged with prematurely, it takes 1,000,000 years for a new ancient demon to emerge. The 9 provinces here each have a different level of ancient demon. For example, the ancient demon of Heavenly Demon Province is a newly born demon from 1,000,000 years ago, the lowest in rank. On the other hand, the ancient demon of 9 Extremities Province has never been merged with any cultivator from birth, and its power is unimaginable to this day. Only those with great military merit have the right to worship the ancient demon. Only those with unparalleled slaughterous might, truly peerless demon figures, have the chance to become its master. The ancient demon spirit is incredibly unique. Among all the native inhabitants of this land, no matter how high their military merit, they can only worship it, not merge with it. Only outsiders have the chance to fuse with it. As for why this is, no one knows. Additionally, demon power is the key to merging with it. If one's demon power is insufficient, even if there is a chance to merge, it cannot be completed. This results in the bloody storm every 5,000 years when outsiders enter the land. They must kill. Once they kill their opponents, they can absorb all the demon power that their adversaries have accumulated here. Only by killing others can they reduce the number of their competitors. A contemplative look appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. His speed was incredibly fast as he raced toward the location of the primary soul. At this moment, he was like a meteor streaking across the sky, disappearing from view. In Luo Yun's memories, the reason he knew so much about this place is because, tens of thousands of years ago, a person from the path of heavenly ghost entered here. Though he didn't acquire the ancient demon spirit, he barely survived a life and death ordeal and successfully made it out. When he returned to the path of heavenly ghost, he immediately documented his 500 years of experience in this land, which is why Luo Yun knew so much. Now, this knowledge benefits me. Based on Luo Yun's plan, he summarized, from his ancestors' experiences, that to quickly establish a foothold here, one must quickly pledge allegiance to a province. Only then can one earn military merit. More importantly, once you have military merit, you're no longer fighting alone but have demon soldiers and demon generals under your command. This way, you gain a powerful advantage early on. The nearest province is Heavenly Demon Province. Luo Yun had previously visited the ancient demon city and obtained the military token of admission for the left-wing demon general of the city. To enter, one must have 3-star demon power. Here, demon power is measured by stars. 3-star demon power is equivalent to the total spiritual energy required for the foundation establishment stage. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed as he flipped his right hand. A demon crystal appeared in his palm. This crystal was a relic from Luo Yun's essence spirit. Wang Lin took a brief look and determined that it was a 2-star demon power crystal. No wonder Luo Yun wanted to kill me. The demon crystal I absorbed from the valley is a 1-star demon power. Combined with this, it totals exactly 3 stars. But right now, it's working in my favor. Wang Lin sneered coldly. His speed increased as he used his divine sense to detect that the primary soul was not far ahead. His body transformed into a wisp of green smoke as he sped ahead, but suddenly, his heart stirred, and his figure materialized out of the smoke. He stared ahead thoughtfully. Wait, in Luo Yun's memory, after fusing with the ancient demon spirit, there's a certain chance of entering the genesis of divinity. That name, Genesis of Divinity, seems so familiar. Genesis. Wang Lin's body trembled, and he suddenly stopped mid-air, motionless. His eyes gleamed with an intense brightness. From a distance, his eyes looked like beams of light shining like a 1,000-foot-tall sun, exceptionally bright. Genesis Realm. Could it be the Genesis Realm? Wang Lin took a deep breath, his eyes growing brighter by 3 times. Extreme, Tao Genesis. Wang Lin's heart raced wildly. After attaining the Extreme Realm, Wang Lin had actively searched for all information about it. His greatest discovery was found in an underground cave in the Demon Sea of Vermilion Birdstar, located on a plain. The cave housed countless ancient texts, among which was a detailed record of everything about the Extreme Realm. While studying the Extreme Realm, he inevitably came across the other 2 realms that shared its origin. Tao Realm, Genesis Realm. Wang Lin's eyes flickered, and he fell into deep thought. The genesis of divinity. The 3 great realms are eternal spiritual power realms. However, the Extreme Realm can transfer spiritual power into divine sense. So, the other 2 realms should also be able to transform in a similar way. Could the genesis of divinity realm be the transformation of Genesis into divine sense? If the Extreme Realm represents death, then the Genesis Realm represents life. And if this life is applied to divine sense, it could symbolize endless vitality or even creation. I cultivate the Tao of life and death reincarnation. If I can combine the Extreme Realm's death with the Genesis Realm's life, could I complete the Tao of reincarnation? Wang Lin thought to himself, shaking his head with a bitter smile. He realized it was all just wishful thinking. These matters were far too unrealistic. He sighed softly, clearing his thoughts. Regardless of whether the genesis of divinity was as he imagined, it had no connection to him at the moment, so there was no point in dwelling on it. Wang Lin's figure moved, and with a single step, he vanished from his location. When he reappeared, it was thousands of miles away. Thousands of miles away, in the middle of a vast plain. As soon as Wang Lin materialized, several ghost-like entities immediately whistled toward him from all directions, circling around his body. Among them was a Kirin beast, roaring as it charged. Wang Lin's divine sense swept over the surroundings, his gaze falling on a dark rift in the ground. The rift was about 100 feet long, as if it had been cleaved open by a flying sword from the sky. However, due to its age, many parts had collapsed and closed up, leaving only a gap of less than 10 feet still intact. The area was overgrown with wild grass, so dense that, unless one looked closely, it was difficult to spot the rift. Wang Lin opened his mouth and inhaled. The primary souls hovering around him immediately transformed into black smoke, diving into his mouth and merging into the soul banner of his essence spirit. After gathering the primary souls, Wang Lin descended and stood coldly outside the rift, observing it. Heavenly Ghost, this creature, according to Luo Yun's memory, is a unique divine technique of the path of Heavenly Ghost. It is born from the void, originally in formless entity. However, people of the path of Heavenly Ghost use the blood of a pregnant woman as a guide, the hot blood of strong men to attract it, and call upon the cultivator's essence spirit to summon it. After 49 years, they can summon a Heavenly Ghost, which is then captured using secret arts to become a life-bound ghost spirit. Luo Yun, being a noble figure in the path of Heavenly Ghost, had his master send him the weakest of his 9 life-bound ghost spirits as a defensive tool. Since Luo Yun had only recently begun refining it, the ghost spirit betrayed him. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with cold light. With a wave of his right hand, 2 streams of gray mist swirled and surged between his fingers. With a snap of his fingers, the gray mist shot forward toward the rift. The gray mist roared like wild dragons, diving into the rift. The Heavenly Ghost, which had been hiding there, had previously betrayed its master and suffered some backlash. Moreover, without the connection to vital blood, it was extremely weak at the moment. However, this weakness was temporary. If it survived for 7 days, it would no longer require vital blood to exist. After 49 days, it would regain its full freedom and transform into a formless entity, capable of roaming the world freely from that point on. At that moment, it was hiding in the rift, suddenly opening its eyes. Its body moved, and it materialized, charging toward one of the streams of gray mist. But as it pounced, the gray mist instantly dispersed into tiny gray sparks, scattering across the area. The Heavenly Ghost froze for a moment before retreating, but it was too late. The scattered gray sparks quickly reassembled, and the center of this gathering was the Heavenly Ghost itself. In the blink of an eye, the Heavenly Ghost was completely engulfed in gray sparks. It howled as it recoiled again. Just then, another stream of gray mist surged toward it. crashing against the heavenly ghost and disintegrating into more gray sparks. These sparks gathered once again, with the heavenly ghost as the center. In this brief span of time, the heavenly ghost's entire body was engulfed in gray sparks. At the same time, the rift echoed with the furious roars of the heavenly ghost. A black streak shot out from the rift at incredible speed, heading straight toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin swiftly retreated, but the black streak followed closely behind, relentless in its pursuit. Wang Lin snorted coldly. As he retreated, his right hand touched his storage pouch, and in an instant, the Kunji whip was in his hand. With a flick, there was a sharp crack, and the heavenly ghost let out a pained grunt, its momentum slowing down. The Kunji whip specialized in attacking the essence spirit, and since the heavenly ghost had no physical body, it was clearly a creature of soul, essence, and spirit. In response to the pain, the heavenly ghost's fury intensified. Ignoring the agony, it crazily lunged at Wang Lin, its expression ferocious and filled with murderous intent. Two streams of gray mist, like needles, rapidly flickered across its body, draining the life force from the heavenly ghost. However, the creature didn't even glance at the life force slipping away as it charged toward Wang Lin. Wherever it passed, the grass withered and turned yellow, creating a strangely eerie scene. Wang Lin's gaze grew colder, and without taking a step back, he swiftly swung the Kunji whip again. The whip crackled multiple times, and the approaching heavenly ghost cried out in agony. Unable to withstand the pain, it attempted to retreat, ready to flee. Wang Lin knew that the heavenly ghost was at its weakest now, and if it escaped and recovered, it would become even more troublesome to deal with in the future. After searching Luo Yun's memories, Wang Lin had learned that after betraying its master, the heavenly ghost needed a period of rest during the first 7 days and the subsequent 49 days to recover. Without hesitation, Wang Lin tossed the Kunji whip forward. The whip moved like a swimming dragon, shooting out toward the heavenly ghost. The heavenly ghost, seeing escape as impossible, suddenly turned around, opening its ghostly mouth and spitting forward. A green ghostly flame shot from its mouth, covering the Kunji whip in a massive sea of fire. This ghostly flame was the heavenly ghost's lifebound flame, its strongest attack. Its hatred for Wang Lin was slightly less than that for the whip, which it truly despised. To it, this whip was a weapon specifically designed to deal with heavenly ghosts, and it had heard of only one such weapon in the past, one that had long since disappeared from this world. Determined to destroy the Kunji whip at all costs, the heavenly ghost unleashed its lifebound flame, even in its weakened state. The moment the flame erupted, Wang Lin's expression changed. He had known of the heavenly ghost's strength, which had caused him to hesitate slightly before engaging. However, knowing that this was the weakest moment for the heavenly ghost, he had decided to capture it. Seeing the flame, Wang Lin was suddenly shaken. He didn't directly resist the fire, but he could sense its strange nature. This fire didn't burn the physical body, it burned the essence spirit. Immediately, Wang Lin felt a searing pain from his essence spirit. There was no time to mourn for the Kunji whip. He immediately retreated. Just then, the Kunji whip, covered by the heavenly ghost's lifebound flame, emitted a cracking sound. A flash of golden light suddenly flickered within it. The light only lasted a moment before disappearing without a trace. But that brief flash was enough to make Wang Lin's eyes narrow. With a single flash, the golden light extinguished the ghostly flame, and it didn't die down gradually. It vanished instantly, as if struck by an invisible hand. The fire's sudden disappearance left the heavenly ghost stunned, as if witnessing something impossible. It let out a piercing scream before quickly fleeing. However, it was too late. As the golden light flickered, not only did the flame extinguish, but the heavenly ghost's body began to turn transparent. In mere moments, the creature screamed in terror as it began to rapidly dissipate. Wang Lin moved like lightning, rushing forward to grab the Kunji whip from the air. With a jolt, the whip flew back into his hand. Relieved to hold the whip, Wang Lin noticed that the golden flash had been highly unusual. Had he not recalled the whip in time, the heavenly ghost would surely have perished instantly. Even now, it was on the verge of death, its body slowly dissipating. Wang Lin tapped his storage pouch and held the soul banner. With a wave, the banner captured the heavenly ghost, and the special environment inside the banner prevented its continued dissipation. Afterward, Wang Lin examined the Kunji whip carefully. After being burned by the heavenly ghost's fire, the whip had undergone slight changes. The outer layer had curled up into thin, hard layers, resembling the skin of a snake after shedding. Wang Lin felt a strange sensation as he looked at it. This whip seemed to have just shed its skin, not yet fully transformed. A while later, Wang Lin put the whip away, looked into the distance, and after determining the direction, he vanished like a bolt of lightning. 3 days later, Wang Lin saw the valley from afar. The formation's glow slowly rotated, and a powerful pressure began to emanate from it. He recognized this pressure. It was from the Forbidden Banner. When Wang Lin left previously, he had taken out the Forbidden Banner and used it in conjunction with the formation to secure the valley from the impact of the demon spirit tide. His figure moved like lightning, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared outside the valley. With a single step, he entered the valley. He had broken this formation once before, and now, with the Forbidden Banner integrated, he could move freely in and out of the formation. As soon as his figure appeared in the valley, he immediately saw the residents seated in the center, listening to Yanghua speak. Yanghua saw Wang Lin right away, his face filled with surprise. He quickly made his way through the crowd and bowed deeply from a distance, respectfully saying, "We welcome the celestial being's return." At that moment, Yanghua's heart was filled with respect. He had seen with his own eyes that Wang Lin had gone out with another outsider, but now that the celestial being had returned, it could only mean one thing. The outsider had been killed by Wang Lin. To Yanghua, when two outsiders met, one would live and the other would die. The deeper parts of the valley are forbidden. Do not enter recklessly. Wang Lin left this command, and with a single step, he vanished from everyone's sight and entered the depths of the valley. A look of wild joy appeared on Yanghua's face. He took a deep breath, silently thinking that with a celestial being stationed here, the security of the valley would be greatly ensured in the future. Not only that, expanding their territory would become much easier. At the thought, Yanghua's eyes gleamed with a trace of madness. He suddenly turned to face the residents in the valley and shouted loudly, "The deeper parts of the valley are under a strict prohibition. No one is allowed to enter. Watch over the children and do not violate clan rules." The surrounding residents mostly nodded, but a few wore displeased expressions. One burly man muttered, "Why can't we go there? The rest of the valley is hot, but the deep part is cool." Yanghua glared fiercely, shouting, "This is clan law. From now on, this rule is officially part of the clan's regulations. Anyone who violates it will be expelled from the valley to fend for themselves." As soon as these words were spoken, the opposition immediately fell silent, and no one dared to say anything further. Feeling that his speech was a little too stiff, Yanghua coughed and added, "The valley is too small. We should consider relocating. Your family should take in more women. Our tribe needs to expand." Hearing this, the residents' eyes reddened, and a trace of madness appeared on their faces. One of them took a few steps forward and loudly asked, "Elder, are we preparing for war?" Yanghua nodded fiercely. Wang Lin sat cross-legged in the depths of the valley. The reason he chose to remain here temporarily was because he had other plans. In the land of demon spirits, to establish a foothold, one needed strength. But beyond that, one also needed military achievements. The ancient demon city was a must-go, but before heading there, preparations were necessary. Inside the ancient demon city, establishing a presence would be difficult. Moreover, according to Luo Yun's memories, the left-wing demon general's residence was filled with powerful individuals, all native residents of the land of demon spirits. Their cultivation focused on demon power, and their divine techniques followed the same principle. Although Wang Lin had never truly witnessed someone using demon power divine techniques, Luo Yun had, and his ancestors had long been in contact with such powers. Before obtaining Luo Yun's soul, Wang Lin would have gone straight to the ancient demon city without hesitation. But now, he had changed his mind. Rather than heading straight to the ancient demon city and entering the left-wing demon general's residence, it's better to stay here in the valley and educate the residents, making them follow my command. I can teach them spells and divine techniques. Over countless years, I will amass a force of my own. Wang Lin's eyes revealed deep contemplation, followed by a flash of decisiveness. Those who accomplish great things don't sweat the small details. I will teach them the soul banner technique. It is easy to master and fits the needs of slaughter. The more people they kill, the more souls they can gather, and their strength will grow. That way, I can also take the opportunity to see if I can repair the soul banner. Once it's fixed, even the highest cultivators will not be able to threaten me. Among the foreign cultivators here, I will definitely rank in the top 10. Only then will I have a chance to ultimately obtain the ancient demon spirit. With that thought, Wang Lin took a deep breath and retrieved 2 jade slips from his storage pouch. He scanned them with his divine sense and quickly inscribed some incantations. Within the soul refining sect, there were 3 main techniques: soul refining, soul extraction, and soul binding. Among them, soul binding was only for direct descendants to cultivate, as it was specifically designed for controlling the billion souls banner. As for soul refining and soul extraction, they were the foundation of the sect. Apart from these 2 techniques, creating one's own soul banner was one of the main criteria to become a formal disciple. Only by creating a soul banner could one truly be considered a disciple of the soul refining sect. Soul refining involved refining existing souls, while soul extraction was the technique of pulling souls out of living beings. The methods of soul refining and soul extraction, King Lin had only left the initial incantations for the early stages in the jade slip. After a brief moment of contemplation, he also made a simple note on the process of crafting the soul banner. Following this method, the crafted soul banner would have a fatal flaw, one that only King Lin himself knew of. In fact, through this flaw, he could disregard the opponent's sacrificial refinement and directly control their soul banner, turning it into his own possession. Naturally cautious by nature, King Lin would never impart his cultivation methods without reservation. As he reflected on this, King Lin also felt a sense of joy. These people had decent potential, proving that they could cultivate. Although there was no spiritual energy in this land, there was demon power. Perhaps, by cultivating the soul banner technique with demon power, they could achieve unexpected results. With such thoughts, King Lin's divine sense located Ouyang Hua, who was planning an attack on other valleys and settlements. After sending a voice transmission to him, King Lin withdrew his divine sense. Not long after, Ouyang Hua hurriedly appeared from the distance, a respectful expression on his face. He had been deep in thought when King Lin's voice suddenly reached his ears, and his heart had been shaken. He rushed over immediately. King Lin threw his right hand, and 2 jade slips floated toward Ouyang Hua. Ouyang Hua was stunned for a moment. After carefully inspecting the jade slips, excitement appeared on his face. He exclaimed, "Celestial being, these are demon slips?" Demon slips. Close enough, King Lin mused for a moment. He recalled the records of the ancient ancestors in Luo Yun's memories, and in this land of demon spirits, the term demon slip existed. Ouyang Hua held the jade slips, took a deep breath, and stared at them for a long while. Finally, his old face reddened slightly, and he whispered, "Celestial being, I only know that these items have a recording function, but I do not know how to view them. Place it on your forehead, focus your mind, and imagine you're looking at the jade slip. If your will is strong enough, you will naturally be able to see it. If not, try a few more times," King Lin replied, then closed his eyes. Ouyang Hua took a deep breath, sat cross-legged, and pressed the jade slip to his forehead, concentrating hard. However, after a short while, a troubled expression appeared on his face. No matter how he tried to imagine, there was no response. Although King Lin had his eyes closed, he was still carefully observing Ouyang Hua. As an elder of this valley, Ouyang Hua had been discovered to possess the power of 1 star when he was a child during his time at ancient Demon City. Although he couldn't settle there, his status had greatly risen upon returning to the valley. Inside Ouyang Hua's body, King Lin clearly saw a faint, thread-like aura slowly circulating in his dantian. However, the meridians in his body were too clogged, and not only was the circulation of the aura slow, but its range of movement was also restricted. Even so, this aura could still be slightly catalyzed by the valley's formation, which allowed him to manipulate the formation. Furthermore, through the formation's power, he could even create an illusory body. An hour later, Ouyang Hua had no choice but to give up. He sighed inwardly, his face full of bitterness, and shook his head in silence. King Lin opened his eyes, a flash of sharpness crossing his gaze. He raised his right hand, and with a startled cry from Ouyang Hua, the latter's body was involuntarily pulled forward. King Lin's left hand formed 2 fingers, which suddenly pressed against Ouyang Hua's abdomen. With this point, Ouyang Hua groaned in pain, his abdomen suddenly shaking with a sharp sting. Sweat beads, the size of soybeans, formed on his forehead and fell to the ground. Despite the pain, Ouyang Hua gritted his teeth. He knew that if King Lin wanted to harm him, he would not have gone through such trouble. Given the current situation, it was highly likely that King Lin was preparing to help him. At his age, he was destined to remain stagnant around the level of 1 star, with no hope of improvement. But now, he couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. His intuition told him that if he could seize this opportunity, a breakthrough would no longer be an impossible dream for him. King Lin's left fingers moved slowly upward from Yang Hua's abdomen. With each half-inch they moved, the pain Yang Hua felt doubled. Sweat poured down his forehead like rain, and his entire body trembled violently. His face turned pale and bloodless. King Lin remained composed. After raising his right hand by 3 inches, he glanced at Yang Hua and said in a calm voice, "Endure it." With that, his right hand suddenly rose, quickly reaching the 3-inch mark, and instantly pressed against Yang Hua's forehead. A painful scream that echoed throughout the valley rang out. Yang Hua's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed to the ground, motionless. King Lin did not look at him further, instead continuing to sit cross-legged. The native residents of the valley heard Yang Hua's agonizing cry but dared not take a single step deeper into the valley. The clan rules hung over them like a sword, and no one dared to violate them. Several hours later, Yang Hua slowly opened his eyes. The moment his eyes opened, he froze completely. The world before him suddenly appeared different. The flowers were still flowers, the grass still grass, and even the walls around him were unchanged, but everything seemed completely different in his eyes. A newfound realization surged within Yang Hua's heart, and he couldn't help but shed 2 streams of old tears. Without even needing to check, he knew that he had reached the level of 2 stars, a milestone that allowed him to access the subtle arts. He immediately knelt before Wang Lin, respectfully and sincerely, bowing 3 times from the bottom of his heart. "Thank you, celestial being." Though his words were few, they contained emotions so intense that no amount of words could compare, a profound shock that resonated deeply within his soul. "Try to see if you can observe the contents within the demonic slip," Wang Lin nodded and said. Yang Hua hurriedly took the jade slip, pressed it to his forehead, and focused. Instantly, the incantations within the slip seemed to brand themselves into his memory like a seal. Yang Hua's body trembled, and he took a deep breath to suppress the overwhelming excitement in his heart. He spoke in a deep voice, "I can see it, Senior." Unconsciously, he had already changed the way he referred to himself. Wang Lin nodded slightly. He had previously used 2 fingers to forcefully open a meridian for Yang Hua. This method was domineering and would leave many side effects, but it was the quickest shortcut to enhance cultivation. This incantation is called soul refining. Listen closely, I will only explain it once. After you learn it, you must teach the residents here, Wang Lin said slowly, looking at Yang Hua. The excitement within Yang Hua's heart was like a rising wave, building higher with every passing moment. His cultivation had already made him incredibly excited, but after seeing the incantation in the jade slip, his heart began to race uncontrollably. He had a vague guess, but he dared not believe it. After all, in the land of demonic spirits, all cultivation methods were precious and rare. Ordinary people like him would never have a chance to obtain such a method in their lifetime, let alone the residents of the valley. "Celestial being, do you mean to teach me this cultivation method?" Yang Hua asked in disbelief, taking a deep breath. Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he nodded. "Not just you, but the residents here as well." Yang Hua's body trembled, and he respectfully bowed deeply, saying in a sincere voice, Yang Hua will never forget the kindness of the celestial being in this lifetime. His words came from the depths of his heart, filled with utmost sincerity. It must be known that in the land of demonic spirits, cultivation methods were controlled by a select few. They were not something ordinary people could obtain. People like Yang Hua had no chance of ever learning such methods, let alone the residents of the valley. Wang Lin gave a few more instructions on the key points of practicing soul-refining art. Yang Hua listened carefully, like a student, committing everything to memory. His gratitude toward Wang Lin only deepened. When Wang Lin finished speaking, Yang Hua performed the disciple's salutation, bowed, and withdrew. Seeing Yang Hua's response, Wang Lin paused for a moment before calming himself. Teaching this person a cultivation method and receiving such a gesture of respect from him was, after all, the right thing to do. Time passed, and 3 months quickly slipped by. Yang Hua worked diligently, spending almost all his time practicing soul-refining art. Even matters like attacking other tribes were forcefully suppressed by him, as he focused entirely on studying this technique. He had decent talent to begin with, and since the soul-refining sect's divine techniques were easier to start but hard to master, Ouyang made progress within 3 months. Not only him, but the young men of his tribe also practiced the art under Ouyang guidance, each of them making progress in their own way. During these 3 months, Wang Lin spent his days meditating and practicing breathing techniques, fully focusing on studying the demon crystal. Under his research, 2 demon crystals fused together into a single one. This new demon crystal contained an immense amount of demon power. Numerous smoky tendrils emerged from its surface, drifting in a strange, ethereal manner. A 3-class demon crystal. Wang Lin's gaze flickered, and without hesitation, he swallowed the crystal. The moment it entered his body, it appeared in his dantian, and waves of demon power spread out, flowing through the meridians outside his dantian. Once the energy circulated for a full cycle, Wang Lin's aura changed. At that moment, he no longer felt like a celestial being. Instead, his entire body became engulfed in demonic aura, exuding an eerie, unpredictable vibe. Even his face turned monstrous, especially his eyes, which now seemed like a pair of demonically eerie, oval pupils that caused anyone who looked into them to feel an instinctual sense of dread. Wang Lin raised his right hand and gently clenched it, frowning slightly. My body is filled with demon power, but unfortunately, the amount is insufficient. If I fully circulate it, it would only be equivalent to a foundation establishment cultivator's level. With a thought, the demon power within his meridians immediately receded, returning to the demon crystal, not leaving even a trace behind. As the demon power retracted, immortal power naturally began circulating within his meridians. Wang Lin's aura immediately shifted back to a transcendent, ethereal celestial presence. This demon power is quite interesting. Wang Lin's gaze glinted. Over the past 3 months, he had ventured out of the valley 3 times, each time to explain the soul refining art to the practitioners within the valley. Almost everyone in the valley now knew that this technique came from Wang Lin, that it was he who had given them the opportunity to cultivate. The fear and misunderstandings that once existed toward him had almost vanished, replaced instead with endless gratitude and respect. Each time Wang Lin stepped out, almost every resident of the area, upon seeing him, would put down their work and respectfully greet him. Among the cultivators practicing the soul refining art, besides Ouyang, who was progressing rapidly, there was another person who caught Wang Lin's attention. This person was the young man who Wang Lin had secretly followed previously, the one who had learned about the valley from him. This young man practiced the soul refining art with great skill. In just 3 months, he managed to reach the 3rd stage of the technique, a stage where one prepares to create their own soul banner. Given this, Wang Lin took some time to carefully study the technique. Using the unique gale tree wood from the area, combined with the hide of a wild beast and the condensed demon power, along with some hand seals, he managed to create a rudimentary imitation of the soul banner. However, this substitute soul banner could only seal fewer than 10 souls, meaning that the maximum was a 10 soul banner. But this item had the advantage of being numerous. While 10 soul banners used at once were still weaker than a 100 soul banner, they retained half its power. Likewise, this substitute soul banner had fatal flaws hidden within it, flaws known only to Wang Lin himself. After all, the series of divine techniques of the soul refining sect were secrets only Wang Lin possessed on the Destiny Star. He recorded the newly discovered method of crafting the soul banner onto a jade slip. With a sweep of his divine sense, Wang Lin summoned Ouyang and the young man known as 13. 13 was the same young man Wang Lin had secretly followed earlier. This young man seemed to possess an elusive understanding of the soul refining art, his speed of cultivation so rapid that even if the celestial beings of the heavenly path were present, they would surely be astonished. 13 stood quietly before Wang Lin. Over these past days, he had developed a deep respect for the celestial being before him, as well as an unimaginable sense of awe. The more he practiced the soul refining art, the deeper this awe became. In the 3 months of his cultivation, he often analyzed the technique in private and concluded that if mastered to perfection, its power would be beyond imagination. 10 soul banner, 100 soul banner, 1,000 soul banner, 10,000 soul banner, 100,000 soul banner. 13 took a deep breath, a hint of fanaticism flashing in his eyes. Ouyang, compared to 13, was much more seasoned. He stood respectfully before Wang Lin, a look of admiration on his face. In fact, since Wang Lin began teaching the soul refining art in this valley, with everyone's cultivation progress, the true power in the valley had gradually shifted from Ouyang to Wang Lin. Almost everyone knew that Wang Lin was the true master of this place. Celestial being, There are 27 male members of the tribe in the valley, all practicing the soul-refining demon art. Currently, aside from 13, most are still stuck at the first stage, with 6 of them unable to progress, Oyanghua reported. Wang Lin sat cross-legged, nodding slightly. While the soul-refining art was easy to begin, it was not something everyone could learn. Among the 27 people here, having most of them enter the first stage was a remarkable achievement. If this were in the Vermilion Bird Star, it would cause quite a stir. Wang Lin glanced at 13, who stood next to Oyanghua. He was quite satisfied with 13's progress. Sensing Wang Lin's gaze, 13 straightened, his eyes burning with fervor. Looking at Wang Lin, he called out loudly, "Celestial being, 13 has reached the third stage. If I can create a soul banner, I will be able to venture out and seek soul seals." Wang Lin smiled slightly, his right hand swiping through the air. The jade slip appeared silently in his hand. He tossed it forward and said, "The new method for creating the soul banner is here." 13 caught it, his face lighting up with joy. He took a deep breath, following the method Oyanghua had taught him. He placed the jade slip on his forehead, focused, and imagined. After a brief moment, his body trembled slightly, and excitement shone in his eyes. Looking at Wang Lin, 13 suddenly dropped to his knees with a loud thud, kowtowing 3 times. Wang Lin closed his eyes and said slowly, "You may leave now. Focus on crafting the soul banner." 13 nodded, setting the jade slip down, then stood and withdrew. Oyanghua hesitated for a moment, glancing at Wang Lin and then at the jade slip on the ground. Without Wang Lin's permission, he dared not take it up to examine it himself. "Go ahead, you've reached the third stage as well. If you can craft the soul banner, with your demon power to guide it, sealing souls will greatly enhance your strength," Wang Lin said slowly. Oyanghua quickly picked up the jade slip and placed it on his forehead. After a while, he took a deep breath and respectfully said, "I will immediately search for materials to make the soul banner." After a brief pause, he continued, "Celestial being, I plan to wait until 13 has made his soul banner, then lead the people of the valley to attack an underground cave located 1,000 miles away. There is another tribe there, with several dozen people." Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he said, "Do as you wish." Oyanghua nodded and quickly withdrew. A month later, the news of the impending attack on the underground cave spread throughout the valley. To the residents, this would be a grand battle. The enemy's numbers clearly outnumbered theirs, but with the soul-refining art in hand, the chance of victory was great. In the past month, all the adult males in the valley had been working tirelessly, practicing the soul-refining art day and night. 13 had gone out once during this period to gather enough materials, and had begun crafting a soul banner. This boy's comprehension of the soul-refining art proved invaluable once again. After 3 failed attempts, he finally succeeded in crafting his first soul banner. The moment this first soul banner was created, a great stir swept through the valley. 13 was surrounded by the crowd, and the 7-foot-long soul banner in his hand became the focus of everyone's attention. 13 was incredibly excited by such attention. Oyanghua, stroking his chin, smiled as he observed the scene. In fact, he had crafted his own soul banner a few days earlier than 13, but he had kept it low-key, leaving the spotlight for 13 to shine. Oyanghua, a shrewd and experienced individual, understood that immortal King Wang Lin seemed to value 13 quite highly. Given his own age, he knew that the future no longer belonged to him. It appeared, from the present situation, that the future belonged to 13. Little 13, this soul banner only works after you refine and seal a soul within it. When are you going to refine one? Someone in the crowd asked loudly. Others nodded in agreement. 13 snorted and replied, "Who said I haven't sealed a soul? Watch closely." With that, he made a hand seal, and suddenly, a surge of demon power gathered from all directions, condensing into a green glow that flickered at his fingertips. He pointed toward the soul banner in the air. The banner immediately trembled. At the same time, a black mist shot out of the soul banner at lightning speed, transforming into a winged lion-like beast in midair. The moment the beast appeared, it let out a mighty roar that echoed through the valley. Oyanghua's eyes narrowed, visibly impressed. 13's face lit up with pride. With a casual flick of his hand, he shouted, "Attack!" The lion-like soul's eyes flashed with murderous intent. With a swift movement, it soared into the air and crashed into a cliff on the edge of the valley, sending a shockwave through the air. The cliff cracked open with a loud bang. The lion spirit, however, showed no signs of damage. Gasps of amazement erupted from the crowd. Their envious gazes filled 13 with pride. This winged lion was a soul 13 had stumbled upon while entering the forest. The beast had been gravely injured and had just breathed its last. 13, gritting his teeth, took a risk and used the soul refining art. After several attempts, he succeeded in refining and sealing the soul within the soul banner. 13 took a deep breath, summoned the banner, and shouted, "Return." As he shook the soul banner, the lion spirit suddenly twisted its head. Its eyes gleamed with ferocity, and with a roar, it darted not toward the soul banner, but straight for 13. The murderous intent in its eyes was overwhelming, and it seemed ready to strike. 13's expression changed. Gripping the soul banner tightly, he shouted, "Return." The lion spirit ignored him, howling as it charged. The crowd scattered in alarm. Yang Hua gritted his teeth and rushed forward, reaching into his robes. He pulled out a small 3-inch banner. As he shook it, a green glow flashed, and a small bird, resembling a sparrow, suddenly materialized. With a sharp cry, it darted toward the lion spirit. The lion spirit, in mid-charge, spun around and roared at the approaching sparrow. Its roar seemed to possess piercing power, forcing the sparrow to falter in its momentum. Seizing the brief delay, the lion spirit transformed into a streak of lightning and was almost upon 13. It opened its massive jaws and roared, ready to swallow him whole. 13's face turned pale. He tried to retreat, but it felt as though an invisible force had him trapped in place. He couldn't move a single step and could only watch as the massive more rapidly enlarged before him, filling his entire vision. Just then, a cold grunt echoed through the valley, like thunder rolling from the depths. "Beast, how dare you?" The voice that followed was as chilling as the frost of winter. To 13, the voice felt like a divine melody. In a panic, he cried out, "Immortal, save me." The same voice reached the lion spirit's ears, but to it, it was like the roar of the heavens. The creature shuddered violently, as though on the verge of collapsing. It didn't break, however, not because it had the strength to resist, but because Wang Lin did not allow it. The lion spirit immediately ceased its charge. Without hesitation, it whined in fear, its eyes filled with terror, and it turned to flee. From the depths of the valley, a figure emerged. With a single step, Wang Lin crossed countless feet and appeared in midair. The lion spirit trembled as it could clearly sense an overpowering force emanating from the figure before it. In the presence of this man, the lion spirit could not summon any resistance. A deep, overwhelming fear began to spread within it, suffocating it as the fear consumed its very being. The lion spirit let out a soft wail, no longer attempting to flee. Instead, it crouched midair, adopting a submissive posture. The fear in its eyes was overwhelming. This scene completely stunned everyone in the valley. Even Yang Hua was left dumbfounded, a deep, unimaginable reverence for Wang Lin rising within him. This reverence would last for centuries. 13's eyes were filled with fervor as he gazed at Wang Lin, his heart brimming with admiration. If the two of them felt this way, one could only imagine how the others felt. In truth, the reason the lion spirit was so terrified of Wang Lin lay in the flaw he had left on the soul banner and the cultivation method. Anyone who had learned his improved soul refining art and had sealed a soul beast with it, Wang Lin could completely control and intimidate them all.